Hello, everybody, and welcome to this session on OVHcloud Carbon Footprint. Actually, also your carbon footprint. This is definitely an ecosystem matter. My name is Franz Osterin, and I'm Executive VP, Chief Industrial Officer at OVHcloud, in charge of all the sustainability initiatives. Today, for this session, I will be joined by Laura Berny and Romain Boucher, our CSR managers, and David Kremer, the founder and CEO of Cognix and CLO2 Green initiatives.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura Berny, in charge of CSR at OVHcloud. I will talk about carbon footprint in our workshop, and I will be glad to share all the information with you. So do not hesitate, please, and come discuss with me.
Hello, I'm Romain Boucher, and I'll talk about sustainability and carbon emission during the eco experience, and please come and discuss with me.
Hi, my name is David Kremer, founder of CLO2.green. I will talk about carbon compensation during the ecosystem experience. Please come and discuss with me.
Yesterday, at the opening of this ecosystem experience, I announced audacious and ambitious goal on sustainability for OVHcloud, on renewable energy, on energy efficiency, on platform efficiency, and also on other areas such as new areas such as software, energy level consumption, and partnership with academics to go further in how we reduce our environmental impact together with you. And today's session is a deep dive on the fundamental topic, which is carbon. CO2 emission reduction is a key goal to reach the Paris Agreement targets, as well as being one of the key pillars of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Before we take action on carbon emission, either reducing it, compensating it, you actually have to measure it. You could probably tell me, oh, well, that's very easy. We're in 2020. Come on, this is all done. But actually, during this session, we'll show you that it's actually not a done deal. Things are a bit more complicated. There are things we still need to investigate and deep dive into. For instance, the server manufacturing and hardware carbon footprint. So this is something we call Scope 3. You'll soon discover it. But before we dive into the subject, you might wonder, is OVHcloud good on sustainability? Are we on track? The answer is yes. We've been sustainable for 20 years. And a lot is due to our integrated industrial model. We have chosen an integrated business model where we manufacture our own servers and we operate them in our own data centers. Actually, a lot of those data centers are former industrial buildings we bought and we retrofitted into data center. 24 of them out of 30, so 80% of them. This is great for carbon emission. We're also using a technology that is very efficient. We call that water cooling. You might hear a lot about this today because a lot of people are using that kind of technology to cool the server that are more and more and more powerful. We've actually been doing this for almost 20 years. And this allows us to have great power usage effectiveness and water usage effectiveness. We use a lower amount of electricity and we use a lower amount of water. This is great. But to be honest, this was mostly done for financial reasons initially. We wanted to have the most competitive business model and the better price performance. And basically, this has also allowed us to be really good on the environmental impact. When you hear green makes business sense, this is very true for us. This is in our DNA. And we want to keep this asset, our frugal and cost competitive business model, to be inherently ecologic as well. So this is a two eco, right? Economy and ecology. And today what we want to do as well is we want to add a third eco, which is ecosystem, definitely. Now, what about our sustainability goal and our plan for the next few years? A lot has been published and a lot has been done about this. So are we late to the game? No, clearly not, because we've been sustainable for 20 years, as we just said. So when we look at those plans, there are some must-have. Let's look at how to compensate our carbon footprint. But there we wanted to look at it from a different angle, to bring something new. So as we manufacture our own servers, we are uniquely positioned to look at a full life cycle assessment of the hardware, from the time we purchase a component to the time we completely retired this hardware. So we manufacture our own servers. We wanted to look at the full life cycle of the hardware, from the time we purchase the first component to the time we completely retired this hardware. We are one of the few, if not the only one, looking at that at this level at the moment. And we're going to do this together, not just us, but with you. And that's why we need your help. That's also why we partner with Cognix and the CLO2 initiative to reduce that together. So now it's time to dive in. And I would like to introduce Laura Berny and Romain Boucher, our CSR manager. They will go into more details about our carbon footprint and this famous COP3. You'll know a lot about it now. Thank you.
Thank you, François. Indeed, OVHcloud today, through its carbon emission footprints, wants to know and identify its various items. The first objective is to have the most detailed picture in order to set up an action plan to reduce our emissions. We began calculating our footprint in 2017. We have continued to refine the calculation in order to present you today these results. Indeed, our hybrid positioning as a manufacturer and data center operator has enabled us to go further in the terms of calculation methods. Every year, we calculate our carbon footprint for all three scopes, direct and indirect emissions from upstream to downstream. Laura, can you please go further in more detail about the methodology, please?
Sure. Just to give you this information, you have to know that from a methodological point of view, there's very little information, like open and shared information regarding carbon emission on the digital world. The idea is like, for now, there is only few manufacturers that they communicate on the carbon emission of their servers, but mainly they're only referring to their scope 1 and 2. You have to understand that the scope 3 is rarely mentioned on published carbon emission. And it seems like we are having kind of a lack of information regarding on scope 3. This is why we are here today, because we want to propose you our full carbon assessment on the scope 1, 2, and 3. And to go a little bit further on the scope 3, we've decided to choose a monetary ratio methodology to calculate our footprint, because that was the only solution that we have. And this methodology has been approved by independent consulting firm as TwoValue, EcoDev, or the ADEME, which is the French Sustainable Development Agency. And this one is, for now on, the closest methodology to reality. You'll also have to know that our mastering of the value chain of a server from its birth to its end of life help us to find the real carbon emission and the real emission factor that we can use as close as reality. Thus, we can know now the emission of each server of OVHcloud according to its location, and its range. We aim at OVHcloud to be as accurate as possible in this carbon footprint, and in the coming month, as François said, we'll be able to tackle down lifecycle analysis to be able to define a new more realistic emission factor ratio to be able to define and precise our carbon footprint assessment. As you will understand, our goal here is to be as transparent as possible and to be in this process of continuous improvement to be able to give you all the transparent and the information closest to reality.
And here they are, the figures resulting from our carbon footprints from 2019 fiscal year. The total emission of the OVHcloud represent nearly 107,000 tons of CO2 equivalent. This is a significant figure that can be totally linked to our IT assets which are in the scope 3 in the right side of the slide, and which is very preponderant.
Then, to go a little bit more further on all the 3 scopes, you will see that the scope 3 is referred to all the total direct emission generated by OVHcloud. And you will find here all the resourcing used on fossil fuel as gas, coal, oil, etc. And it only represents 3% of our total emission carbon footprint. Here, you will see that it includes all of our emission linked to our backup generators and all the AC system that you will find in our offices. Then, the scope 2 represents 36% of our total amount of emission. That refers to everything regarding electricity, the one that powered our data center and the one that powered our offices. As you see, it's kind of a low ratio, only 36% of the total amount of emission. And this can be explained by the using of low carbon energy in our main country, or at least in the country where we're having the most of our data centers, here in France and also in Canada, where we are using nuclear and hydroelectricity. But we know that with our expansion, and we will to go a bit further into international cities, we will have to tackle then this objective to go on more low carbon electricity and be able to reduce our carbon footprint on the scope. And finally, on the scope 3, the one that is the big one in OVH and the one that we want to reveal for you today, it represents 61% of our emission, and it can be all the other indirect emission that we can have into OVHcloud. Here you will find all our assets, the freight, the travel, the emission of our collaborators, also the usage of water, and everything that you can find here. As you see, this is one of the main part of our carbon emission, and this is why we decided to go a little bit much further on this explanation and be able to show to you all the results on this scope. So let's take the time together to go into more details on scope 3, because this one is the biggest one. First thing you have to know is like calculating our scope 3 is not mandatory. But because of this huge impact on our carbon footprint, we decided to show you all the information and to be as transparent as possible. As you can see on the left side of the slide, this is the repetition of all the items regarding the scope 3. And as you see, assets are the main part of the scope 3. You will see that servers and building assets are nearly 85% of all this scope. This is why on the right part of the slide, we decided to show you the information or the repartition of the emission by localization. We only focus on data centers because, of course, they are the main source of emission into the OVHcloud. As you see, Roubaix, Gravelines, and Beauharnois are 3 main sources of emission, but it can be explained easily by the fact that they are the biggest data centers that we have and also the oldest one.
And now we will go a little bit in details about the carbon footprint at a server, because we are able to do it now. So on the left side, we will find the distribution of the carbon weight of the main brands of OVHcloud. This is the information is related to the distribution of the brand of the park. If we take the bare metal, it represents most of the carbon footprint of the park because it's due to the complexity of where they made, the composition, and the representation into the park. Because today we know that it's 47%. On the opposite, if we take Kim Sufi, it represents around 17% of their total server park. But due to the average age of the hardware, the emission is represent only 6% of OVHcloud emissions. The carbon methodology allows you to compare yourself to yourself over the years. So in order to know the impact of our servers, we have calculated the carbon weight of the manufacturing of each server. and it's what we can see on the right side of the slide. This graph can show us servers as Soyuz and Kim Sufi has a lower carbon weight than public and private clouds because they are made of reused components and compared to the public cloud and private cloud, which are made with brand new components. As a comparison, we know that ADEM estimate that a server emits 600 kilograms of CO2. We have no deeper figures and more detailed plans. So what's next, Laura?
Exactly. Now you're having everything. The idea is to give you all the information about our next steps. Calculating our carbon footprint serves one purpose, to know exactly the distribution of our emission and to put in place an action plan to try to reduce them. We can kind of resume all our ideas and our action by this sentence: be carbon neutral by 2025. How can we do that? The idea is we put in place a project team to work on neutrality. You have to know that neutrality is not synonymous with offsetting and simply offsetting our emission, but rather it means that is the result of joint effort to eliminate all our compressible emission. As mentioned above, we want to go further into refining our calculation and be able to give you the real information, the one that is closest to reality. And to be able to do that, we will go a bit deeper into life cycle analysis to be able to know the real impact, the real emission of each server, to be able to stop using monetary ratio and be closest to reality. We're also going to work on reduce our emission in every scope. That means we will tackle down energy management. We will work to use renewable energy. We will also try to optimize our freight, be able to optimize and develop the lifespan of our servers. All this is having one only main objective, is really to reduce to zero all our compressive emission. For the emission that we can compress, we want to work on something different. We want to work on innovative project to be able to tackle down this issue. For now, we are in progress of finding innovative project, but we still have a blank page. This is why you are here today. If you have any ideas about an innovative project, if you're a project manager, if you have heard about any project, please do not hesitate to come to us. It would be a pleasure for us to exchange and to hear about all this new and fantastic project that you can have. You just have to remember that as OVHcloud, we are looking for something very different, or at least something that can help us in a way to reduce our carbon emission. Then it was a pleasure for us to show you all our results and be able to talk with you and exchange about our carbon emission on all the three scopes.
And finally, we want to make the information transparent and available to all. We are starting today, but we have a lot of work to do and we want to go further and further. For example, we are thinking about giving to the customer the carbon footprint of their server directly on their client manager. So the main idea is to free the access to the information and help everyone to reduce their CO2 impact. So now I'm pleased to introduce our partner Davy from Cognix, and will now explain to you how to be an actor of change.
Grâce à ce travail d'évaluation des émissions carbone des serveurs d'OVHcloud, il est dès aujourd'hui possible de viser la neutralité carbone pour vos infrastructures. Le principe de la compensation carbone est simple. Pour chaque serveur hébergé par OVHcloud, il suffit de planter des arbres qui, en grandissant, capteront l'équivalent du carbone émis par ces serveurs. Il s'agit de jeunes arbres plantés en France dans des forêts gérées durablement qui participeront à la stabilité future du climat, mais aussi à la sauvegarde et au développement de la biodiversité. Pour une parfaite traçabilité, nous avons numérisé les forêts. Un lien web permet de suivre l'estimation des émissions carbone des infrastructures d'OVHcloud et de l'absorption des arbres pour arriver à une balance carbone. Ce lien web permet également d'avoir le détail de ces arbres et en particulier leur géolocalisation. L'offre CLO2 est dès aujourd'hui accessible sur l'OVH Marketplace.
Nous le savons parfaitement, le climat change, l'atmosphère se réchauffe. Et l'industrie du numérique a une responsabilité. Elle porte un formidable espoir pour notre planète. L'espoir de voir baisser nos émissions de carbone grâce à un changement de modèle de notre société et grâce à l'optimisation des différents secteurs de notre économie. Mais l'industrie du numérique est elle-même émettrice de CO2 et dans des proportions importantes. L'extraction des métaux stratégiques, les fameuses terres rares, la fabrication et le transport des composants, le fonctionnement des serveurs et leur recyclage, tout ça nécessite beaucoup d'énergie et donc émet beaucoup de CO2. Il est important d'en avoir conscience pour optimiser nos ressources informatiques, améliorer notre code et rationaliser l'usage de nos infrastructures. Mais quel que soit le niveau d'optimisation que nous pourrons atteindre, il restera toujours un reliquat de CO2. Et heureusement, la nature a le pouvoir de nous aider. Grâce à OVHcloud, il est désormais possible d'évaluer les émissions carbone d'un serveur sur l'ensemble de son cycle de vie, ce qui permet de savoir comment agir au plus juste pour atteindre la neutralité carbone. Avec le projet CLO2, nous vous donnons le pouvoir de faire pousser des arbres derrière chaque serveur, des forêts derrière chaque data center, pour compenser les émissions carbone de nos projets numériques. Pour notre planète et pour les générations futures, il est de notre responsabilité individuelle et collective d'atteindre la neutralité carbone. Vous aussi, rejoignez CLO2.
Hi again. As you understood, this is the start of a very, very long journey we'll do together. Very exciting. And we are happy now to live chat with you, take your question, comment, feedback, everything you want to tell us. Please.